In 1970, veterans tossed their military awards onto the steps of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., protesting under the banner, "We will not fight in the rich man's war." The baptism of the smallest member of the ultra-right Ku Klux Klan organization, USA, 1920. Menelik II, the King of Kings of Ethiopia, believed in the power of the Bible. When he felt unwell, he would tear out pages from the Holy Scriptures and eat them. He died in 1913, having eaten the entire Book of Kings. After serving 14 years for robbing a bank, John Voidovich got a job as a security guard at the very same bank. The inscription on his t-shirt reads, "I robbed this bank." Corporal Shoichi Yokoi hid in the jungles of Guam after Japan's surrender in 1945 and lived there for 28 years. He was found by shrimp fishermen in 1972. His first words upon returning, "It is with much embarrassment that I return alive." In ancient Greece, particularly in Thebes, homosexuality was not considered shameful. An elite unit of 300 men, lovers of each other, was formed, called the Sacred Band of Thebes. In 338 BCE, the entire unit perished in the Battle of Cheronea. A priest reads prayers over the bodies of Titanic victims aboard a British ship, North Atlantic, 1912. The first photograph of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant after the disaster, morning of April 26, 1986. The photo is grainy due to radiation damage to the film. The first woman who attempted to participate in an election. When trying to enter the polling station, she was pushed out and thrown to the ground. United Kingdom, 1872. Flamingos wait out Hurricane Andrew in a Miami Zoo restroom, 1992. An elderly Hungarian woman and 3 children are sent to the gas chambers at Auschwitz, 1944. A smile just days before being sent to the Auschwitz gas chamber. The removal of the bodies of Adolf Hitler and Eva Braun from the bunker, 1945. Motor chariots at a New South Wales carnival, 1936. A comradeship trial over a woman who didn't want to work and pretended to be ill, USSR, 1935. Musicians play for cows to see if music affects the amount of milk they produce, 1930. According to the 1897 census, only about 25% of the population of Russia had surnames. Also, many people did not know their age. A policeman and an elderly woman during protests against a new tax in central London, 1990. A priest holds a service for dozens of Titanic victims before burial at sea, 1912. A cat runs across the street during a street battle in Beirut, Lebanon, 1980s. A horse in a tree after a storm in Louisville, Kentucky, 1937. The pioneer of the automobile radio was Alfred Greb, who had to install a large antenna shaped like a clothes dryer on the bumpers, around 1919. A heartbreaking scene near Svalbard, 1947. A polar bear cub clings to its lifeless mother after a hunt. The cub reportedly stayed in this position for a day and a night, crying and refusing to leave her side. After a 7-day strike, Woolworth store employees in Detroit celebrate their victory. They managed to raise wages by 20%, reduce working hours to 40 hours a week, and receive overtime pay, 1937. Adolf Eichmann's smile as his sentence for crimes against humanity is read, 1961. Military dogs during World War I and sentry duty, 1916. Horse-drawn carriages, trams, early 1900s. 39-year-old cowboy from Texas, Clarence Haley, whose image was used in Marlboro cigarette advertisements, 1949. William Harley and Arthur Davidson, 1914. After the atomic bombing of Hiroshima in August 1945, 70 to 80,000 people died from the explosion. By the end of the year, due to radiation and other consequences, the total number of victims exceeded 150,000. German soldiers lead Polish girls to be executed, 1941. A Parisian after visiting a bar, 1954. Replica dog tags of every soldier who never made it back from Vietnam. In 1950, the Guinness Book of Records named Klaus from San Francisco the fattest cat. At 8 years old, he weighed 40 pounds and had a 36-inch waist. Workers constructing the 60-story Chase Manhattan Bank, 1955. German Lieutenant General of Infantry Anton Dostler tied to a post before execution, 1945. Residents of Addis Ababa salute an image of Mussolini, 1936. Ethiopia was under Italian rule at the time. Cuban Revolution, 1959. Refusal of service for Soviet-made Lada cars until the USSR leaves Afghanistan. Canada, 1984. Chinese people celebrate the successful test of the first atomic bomb, 1964. March into the underworld. The German unit Freiwilligen Legion Niederland advances to the line of attack in the snows near Leningrad. 10 hours later, none of those captured in the photo were alive. A woman cheerfully pours whiskey from her cane, 1922. For 13 years, the U.S. had prohibition, and alcohol was poured out of barrels and mugs during raids. But everyone wanted a drink, including this lady. This photo is a unique piece of history. It shows Geert Adriaens Boomgaard, the last living man who fought for French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte. Geert was born in 1788 and died in 1899 at the age of 110. Before aerial photography was invented, photography was done by all possible means, 1952. The world's largest monument to Stalin was unveiled in Prague, Poland in 1955. It was nicknamed the Line for Meat by the people. Rose Kennedy, mother of the murdered U.S. President John F. Kennedy, outlived 4 of her children, 3 grandchildren, 3 sons-in-law, daughter-in-law Jacqueline, and lived to the age of 104. An amateur agronomist wins a competition and waits for the award ceremony, California, 1975. Brunettes boycotting the film Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, 1953. Stalin and Hitler might have met in Austria long before their political careers. In 1913, while in Vienna, the fugitive revolutionary Stalin loved to stroll the streets where the young artist Hitler was selling his paintings. Moments before the 25th U.S. President William McKinley was shot by anarchist Leon Czolgosz, 1901. Berta Baranda, 5 years in prison for cutting off her husband's member for cheating, USA, 1907. A North Korean propaganda postcard from 1988. The postcard depicts a South Korean defected soldier, his new wife whom he met in the north, and a Volvo car available to any decent North Korean. Hachiko at Shibuya Station, Tokyo, 1933. A prison in Panama, a net over an abyss, 1920. Goalkeeper Sam Bertram stands alone, unaware that the game was stopped 15 minutes ago due to fog, 1937. Let's be friends. This was Adolf Hitler's appeal to the global community, 1936. The First Feminist, 1911. In 1930, a terrifying discovery was made. It was a device with a skull inside, which mimicked the contours of a human body. This was how bandits, pirates, and murderers were executed. They were hung for display until they died. Mysterious and controversial photo of the ape man found in the Amazon, 1937. This cage, known as a Mort safe, appeared in 18th century Scotland. Medical students were digging up graves for practice, so families installed these heavy iron grates to protect their deceased relatives. On February 11, 1990, Mike Tyson suffered his first loss. Mustache cups, United Kingdom, 19th century. Soviet and Polish troops liberate prisoners from the Sachsenhausen concentration camp. Germany, 1945. Black children at the fence of a whites-only playground. Alabama, 1956. Survivors of the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp, 1945. Family Shelter for Atomic War, USA, 1961. The arrangement of a gypsy baron's grave, photo from the 2000s. Robert Wadlow, the tallest man in the world at 8 feet 11 inches, is pictured here in a rare courtroom photo from 1939. A Swedish weightlifter celebrates after successfully lifting the weight at the Olympics, Montreal, 1976. An invention for washing and massaging breasts, 1930. These devices were also supposed to improve firmness. Working models can still be found on eBay today. Zolas in their car, South Africa, 1903. Yugoslavia's air defense forces shoot at NATO aircraft, Belgrade, 1999. Young American women admire stockings. Back then, it was very hard to get them, 1940. The execution of the conspirators who assassinated American President Abraham Lincoln, 1865. Priest consecrating ballistic missiles named Satan, Russia, 2022. Lee Miller, a U.S. Army frontline photographer, takes a bath in Hitler's Munich apartment, April 30, 1945. Just before this photo was taken, she photographed the Dachau concentration camp. Testing of an atomic bomb visible from Las Vegas, 1950s. Mexicans and Americans playing volleyball over the border fence, Naco, Arizona, 1979. Scientists testing a diaper-changing invention. The most offensive will. Australian Francis Lord bequeathed his fortune to friends, charities, and servants, mentioning his wife last. He left her 1 shilling so she could buy a tram ticket, go somewhere, and drown herself. The evolution of the women's swimsuit from 1875 to 1927. This roller coaster was designed specifically to end one's life painlessly and easily. According to the creator's design, it can be used for humane capital punishment. Saving Private Donkey. A French Legion soldier during the Algerian War carries a wounded donkey back to base, 1958. The donkey survived and became the base's mascot, named Bambi. A woman's wild reaction to Mardi Gras participants in New Orleans, 1980s. Hamas militants in the residence of Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas after its capture, June 15, 2007. In 1835, Halley's Comet passed close to Earth, and 2 weeks later, Mark Twain was born. Later, he wrote, "I came in 1835 with Halley's Comet, and I expect to go out with it." And so it happened. Twain died on April 21, 1910, the day after the comet passed again. Auschwitz was the deadliest of the Nazi concentration camps. Over 1.1 million people died there. Of the 7,500 camp staff responsible for these deaths, only 750 were punished. The border between Vietnam and Cambodia, fortified with poisoned bamboo stakes, 1972. This photo was taken at an air show in 2002 at the Skneliv airfield. Many of the people on the ground will not survive. This disaster broke records for the number of victims at an air show. A mannequin of an African American before a school protesting the integration of black people. Texas, 1956. A hut in the Las Vegas Valley, USA, 1895. In 10 years, Las Vegas will gain city status. In 50 years, gangster Bugsy Siegel will open the Flamingo Casino, the first step towards becoming the gambling capital of the world. In 120 years, Las Vegas's McCarran Airport will serve around 50 million passengers annually. Liberated prisoners of the Buchenwald concentration camp, 1945. Seventh from the left in the second row is Elie Wiesel, future Nobel Peace Prize laureate. In 1986, pilot Alexander Kluyev bet he could land a passenger plane blind, using only instruments. He lost the bet. The plane crashed and burst into flames, killing 70 people. The pilot survived and was sentenced to just 6 years in prison. Packed billiard ball sets made from ivory. The billiard craze almost led to the extinction of elephants, as often an entire elephant was killed to make just 5 billiard balls. American cavalrymen by the giant sequoia, grizzly giant. Strangely enough, no one cut this tree down, and it still exists today. USA, 1900. An Iranian woman being buried up to her waist in the ground before being stoned to death for adultery, 1954. The planes of Angela Merkel, François Hollande, and the rock band Iron Maiden at Zurich Airport. French women who had connections with Germans were publicly humiliated as traitors. The irony is that France itself capitulated in 43 days, but it was the women who were portrayed as traitors. If you were caught by the police for jaywalking, you had to stand in the shame box for 30 minutes. South Korea, 1970s. In Africa, a baboon named Joseph worked as a signalman and conductor on the Pretoria railway line, performing his duties without making mistakes and successfully ridding the trains of fare dodgers. Sparked a reaction. Whether good or bad, I'd love to read your comments below. Get ready for the next installment very soon. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss out. Catch you later.